and really sharing with everyone, you know, what have you seen? And I know we're going to add technology into the second part, but what have you seen with all of this challenges? Is this any different, Jeff? And maybe share some of your background in detail to share with everyone really how everyone can maneuver, because you've been around, I would say, really your entire life into commercial real estate.
I appreciate that, Jim. Appreciate everyone joining. Happy New Year and Happy Lunar New Year as well. So good to see some old friends on the call and uh, re-engage. April, good to see you and Kate and Keith and the rest of the team here. Yeah, my background was in doing what Jim had done with EXP and then with some other businesses before. I grew up at NAI, built and grew that organization to be a global corporate commercial real estate platform in 55 countries around the world. And a lot of what we did and enabled was taking the strong relationships and abilities and talent and expertise like a team like you all had, and embedded technology infrastructure and a network of relationships and talent around the world to enable local agents to provide global services or to just become more dominant in their local and regional business. So what we found, and it was very significant, is often real estate agents talk about commercial real estate being a relationship business, and it is, but it's also a process business, which is not the most natural part for a lot of the personalities in commercial real estate. So by combining relationships and technology, you're enabled to become more efficient, more productive, win more business, and execute more efficiently. So, often what we have found is that clients are expecting uh, all of their service providers to not only be able to make a deal, but to process it and be as efficient as possible. So, being able to use technology to enable that and to connect dots, connect people, connect services is very important. So, not only to do the transaction that you would do, but to provide additional services and layers of services and bring resources together and add more value. So it's more than just making a deal. It's providing advice, guidance, and uh, decision support to know that they're making the best decision, whether that's on the financial analysis side or it's in providing um, environmental remediation work or helping work through the title issues or other problems that come up. It's managing through the process, dealing with obstacles and getting through to the other side. And in the
Jeff,
particular environment that we're in right now, Jim, I think it's an incredible opportunity for commercial real estate agents that are coming through what's been a little bit of a drought in the market to position themselves as the expert advisor that's going to help their clients make better decisions into a cycle on what to buy, where to buy, how to price, and where the opportunities are to add value. And it sounds like you were going to jump in, Jim, so I'll let you.
yeah, so all of that, with kind of the old school, with all the old school information and things that you have to do to all these changes, because you've seen it when I think they had to have, there was no technology, right? I mean, the technology was the Rolodex that you kind of spun around to watching the evolution and kind of growing global. How has the changes in commercial real estate happened to technology? Because I know now, you run and you started RealNex, but it's that change and further changes maybe into AI and everything else. Can you kind of share that? Because there's a lot of changes. And what do you see for the bigger change happening in the future? Because AI is terrifying but exciting. So from you where you started to what you're doing to kind of where we're going, if you don't mind sharing, and how the world really is getting smaller, and how do we use technology, RealNex and others, to really help us capture more of these opportunities?
It's interesting. There's it's a story. One of my the case studies that we had is that the agent was independent agent like all of you. You're working for a brand that's not an institutional brand yet. And they did the leasing of a project. So they did the hard work to create the value, and and lease up the shopping center. And the client said to them, great, thank you very much. I'm going to sell it now. And I hired hiring CBRE to handle the sale because of their background. And the agent, was not happy because they thought they created the value and should have earned the right to sell it. And the clients, well, they said, just give me one weekend. Give me it was a Friday afternoon. The end of the day, he got the message that they were, the CBRE was going to sell the property, and basically you did all the heavy lifting, and they're going to make the big fee at the back end. So he said, well, just give me the weekend and just give me an opportunity. So he had all of the information about the property. He knew because he'd done all the leasing. He was able to do the analysis, create the OM. He had the target list of prospects because he had a database of buyers and knew all the buyers for this shopping center. I can underwrite the property. And this is at like 3 o'clock. He's in California, 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Was able to put the OM together, press a button, send the OM to a targeted list of 100 prospects that he knew were the right buyers for this property. He had a deal room with a non-disclosure agreement to allow the person potential buyers to look at the property. And he had a date with his wife that he was running to. So at 5 o'clock, he pressed a button, went to dinner, and during dinner, he was getting offers on the property. So he had brought people enabled people to come into the deal room, look at due diligence. Monday or that night, I'm sure but on Monday, he calls the landlord or the owner and said, look, I already have 5 buyers for your property. No need to hire CBRE. Let me make this transaction. And instead of getting 0, there was 3% on a $25 million shopping center sale that it would have been lost. So, the AI is going to make that even, perhaps more efficient because there's more to do, but you don't need AI to do fundamental work in the industry because you have the knowledge. You're doing the work, and what the challenge we found often, you do the work, but it's all out in the ether, right? It's all in your head. It's, I know this stuff, but I haven't organized it so I can act efficiently. But if you did that leasing, you have the leases, you can do the financial, you have the rent roll, you can instantly underwrite, you can instantly package, you can instantly go to market. And I think, Jim, Rich, your good buddy Rich had a very similar story. He did that same type of deal that I just talked about. He did where he had a client, and the client said, I'm going to give 3 agents the chance to sell this. He had it done in an hour, and his other client was like just getting the message, basically, and trying to organize his information. The power of technology, the power of RealNex in particular, is that you know the asset because you've done the work, or you can ingest it very easily. You have the buyers because you've cataloged them and know their parameters. You can instantly match the asset to that offer, that marketplace, broadcast it out, and bring people into a deal room and sell the property very, very efficiently. And you can run a process. And I think what too often happens, it looks like work, to build it, to profile the property, to put it into, software, to track your buyers. You think you have it all in your head, but you have it all in your head. But when you need to act on it, it's hard to get it from your head into action. So it's making your knowledge actionable. That's the key. And having technology to enable that is where the real value is created.
And Matt, I know you're here, but I just want to take some more minutes to have Jeff and I talk about this because it leads into how RealNex is built, how we can use it. Because I know there's a lot of parts, Jeff. And I think the first part you said is, one, you need that CRM database, right? Everyone needs to build it. How crucial now, more than ever. And I know I always speak about LinkedIn. And I'm going to have a LinkedIn specialist speak to everyone here because of that power. And that's the easy way. I'd say that's the spoiled way of building a database. But nowadays, right, data information is so powerful. How is a database? And I know RealNex has that database, that CRM. How powerful and how necessary is it now to run your business more than ever? Before, I know you just had a notepad, you had a Rolodex, right? I don't need this. But now you need this because of what you said. So what do you see with that database and that proprietary information you have in your CRM and what you put together?
Yeah, that's a great question. So everyone has 80% of the answer, 60% of the answer, something. When you can all get it, and I know EXP is getting CoStar, you had Reonomy, you're going to get 60%, 70. There's a level of accuracy that they have, but it's not perfect. It is a baseline of information. And by and large, you're giving them the information and you're only giving them part of the story that they're then regurgitating back to you, or that you're getting a foundation. But what Keith knows about a property in Birmingham is way more than I do. If I'm looking at a CoStar report, I don't know what he knows. But and if he can build that, he takes that baseline of information and puts more on top of it. He puts more on top of it. He knows the nuances, the cracks in the wall, the problems with the foundation, the problems with the roof, the problems with ownership, the road that's going to be built, the new employment that's going to come in. What are the factors that are going to impact that? So I know that this location is better than the other. In New York, Bob Knackle, a client of ours, he tells the story in one of our masterminds. Everyone's got all the information about all these buildings that got sold, but I know about the air rights, and I know about the people that need to be bought out of their leases. I know about all of the differences that why $100 million transaction was really $150 million transaction. And when you're creating a comp, when I talk to the next door neighbor, I know what they should be selling for and add 50% more value because I know that the nuances to it versus what everyone else or anyone else can see if they're just relying on a third party report to get. So the ability to have that information, and you can't remember it all. You think you can. Even Keith, he knows the market, but you might forget something every once in a while. And you might not, another nuance that I think is really critical. It's not just what you know and you have in your head and you can act on because you can do well with what you have in your head. But when you want to slow down and turn over the keys to somebody else, you can build an asset that's valuable, that's going to help build a team. And Keith, you bring in 5 junior people to your team and say, now you have all this knowledge instantly. So I have everything that I have translated so that all those nuances, all those valuable nuggets about that property, about that ownership, about the history that I can come in and I'm a new person to the industry. Now I can talk about because I can tap into Keith's database and leverage that. So Keith can say, look, come on in and now pay me 50% of everything you do for the rest of the beginning of your career. And he's got an asset. So I always look at it in two things. One, you're building a business development machine. If you build it right, it's going to crank out opportunities. It's going to tell you who to call on Monday because they're right. They have a lease expiration. They have, they told you last year to call them the 1st of February. I'm not going to remember that, or I'm not going to act on it. I might know it, but I don't know. It's not going to prompt me to do something. But if I have my dashboard that tells me here's who I have to call today because here are my A prospects that I need to call the 1st of every month, and here are the people that have issues or challenges or needs that are ripe right now, then I make my time most productive because I'm calling the right people at the right time. The other piece is, so you have prompted action. The other is you have the knowledge base and the knowledge base that you know what to do with that information. If it's a tenant rep assignment, I'm going to know all the right properties, not just a list from CoStar, but I'm going to know who might be downsizing. They still have a lease, so that price doesn't look like it's available, but I know they're downsizing in the market and they've got some dark space, shadow space that I can tap into. And then the third piece is how can I leverage this information to enable somebody else to be productive and benefit from that over time. So, there's so much, but those are, I would say, the top 3 ways that I would think about the value of the database itself. It's prompting action, it's driving and making it actionable, knowing more than the market does, and creating an enduring asset that you can leverage and reap the benefits of over time.
Jeff, I think that's the core piece that people don't realize because it's tedious to build a database, but it's important. And you know what? This is the thing where people recruit, whether it's for a franchise, whether it's for EXP, for any company. And because of the way things are changing, they're like, How do I get an override? Well, there you go. If you
Yeah,
have a proprietary database with the information that no one else has, because you really gotta cold call and take care and farm and work your database. And if you don't do that, right, it gets stale. That's why these third-party companies, these data companies have to call you because you have the knowledge first part. And then there was other database companies or comp sharing, right? Comp stack, and everyone's sharing data and getting tokens and points and all these things, gamifying in a way so people could use it. But I think I know if you do have this, you could leverage it or help each other leverage it even more as a valuable asset to sell or selling your book. That really is your organized book to
exactly.
sell. And you can get residuals off of it. So I think having people think of it that way, then, oh my gosh, it's tedious, but it's actually a gold mine if you want to take your commercial real estate business serious. But I'll let Matt, Jeff, you and Matt talk about this or anything to add on
Yeah,
the
just
database as maybe the front, or maybe even RealNex has free this that you can actually start marketing, bringing people to build your database, and then the database fuels the OM sending it out, all these other things, war rooms, display imaging, because I know you kept on evolving and buying different companies to meet the kind of the need of the commercial real estate, not just domestically, but globally. But I'll let you and Matt kind of share and talk about this and also definitely answer questions from the audience because we definitely want everyone to understand the power of RealNex.
appreciate that. No, what we like to think about is rather than database, because that looks intimidating, we call it knowledge management. And think about it as knowledge management, and also don't think about it as a mountain of work right in front of you that I've got to build. I've got to like before I can make money, I've got to do this. It's incidental to making money. Do it as part of your workflow. So you do a deal, you talk to a landlord, you meet somebody at a networking event, you talk to a tenant, just update the information. So one at a time, brick by brick, you're gathering information all day, every day, and talking to people. And April, how long do we've known each other? 3 years or so now. In 3 years, if you started this 3 years ago, all of a sudden you're 3 years down the road and wow, I have all of this that I did that has moved me up the chain to a point where I've got something and I have 300 tenants that I know lease expiration. I know what they're paying. I know how much space they have. No, I don't have to guess. I know it. I don't need CoStar. I know it. So I know, this year, 10 of them have lease expirations. So I know that, and my competition forgot. And so I'm going to call them, and I'm going to call them 18 months ahead, and I'm going to call them 15 months ahead, and I'm going to call them 12 months ahead. I'm going to send them a market report. I'm going to prompt them for a survey, and you're going to get way ahead of the curve, and you're going to beat the competition. And then so you've got in the beginning, it looks intimidating, but Bo Beery, who's this master of multifamily out of Gainesville, Florida. He's been with us over 20 years. And he said, I've got the best data in Northern Florida. No one knows the market better than I do. I know every comp, I know every owner, I know every buyer. I know everybody who wants to be a buyer in the market. And I know anything about them for these 1,000 properties. So don't make it the world. I want 1,000 properties. I want to know everything about those 1,000 properties. I want to know everything about the owners of them, the lenders on them, the potential buyers of them, and the the broken window in one of them and the leaky roof in another one. And if I know that, no one can stop me. And that's why he owns that market. So it's defining a market, owning that market, mastering that market, and it happens over time. It doesn't happen overnight. And uh, it happens faster if you have a system and you have the tools like us. He said, I wish I had uh, the data that we have as a foundation, so I didn't have to start from zero, which he started from. But now with RX data, where we give you the baseline of data, or bringing in CoStar or other, we can import that, ingest that, consolidate it, and give you that foundation, and then you just add that incremental layer to make it much more efficient and effective. Matt, I'll let you talk a little bit about some of the clients that you're working with, some of the best practices you're finding. And one of the things that we haven't done in the past, and if you want, we'll take a deep dive into RealNex, show it to you, and show you how you can sort of run through and make RealNex as productive as you can for what you do. Because highly configurable, highly customizable, we can make the interface look perfect if I do multifamily, different than I do office tenant rep, or if I'm selling industrial buildings. So all of the things that you need for each different specialization can be configured very efficiently for you, and you can target prospects, build your knowledge base, and put it into practice. Matt, what do you got? Matt Smith heads
I'm
up.
just waiting for you to drop the mic. That was that. I am sitting here in absolute awe. I've been doing this for like what 13, 14 years. I've known James for that long, back in the days when you had the brokerage right by the beach there, and the guys would come into the office in flip-flops, and I was in James's office there. And so look, I've been doing that. Was wow, Jeff, hats off to you. That was solid. And I really like what Jeff said is you're building a tangible asset. And I work with teams, whether they're, the large institutional companies or, smaller independent shops. And I try to teach them to run their business like a business. And that means that when you're ready to retire, you're ready to move on and do something else, you sell that. And so building the RealNex system and building those processes in place give you the ability to sell. Or like some of my agents will do, they will go and retire, and they'll recruit 2 or 3 juniors to come on, and they'll get their database, and anything they generate out of that database, that person that is now retired gets a 10 or 20% split on those deals that are generated from their database. And the juniors love it because they have to do less work, and the retiree loves it because they're getting paid without doing anything because they're getting rewarded for everything they built. And now and Jeff mentioned artificial intelligence. Now with artificial intelligence out there, everybody's like, no, give me this. And so everybody's like putting the data in their pockets, and it's in their shoes, and they're stuffing it in drawers and socks, because the minute that information goes into one of these modeling systems, like I saw an underwriting tool and they're like, AI does it. Well, then now April has the same analysis that I have. And that's not what I want, because go back to Bob's story on a property they were going to list for like what 50 or 60 million, Jeff, and he ended up selling it for like 80 million. So something just ridiculous, like 30 million more, because he knew the market. And so having that market information, everybody's trying to bring that back into RealNex.
And Matt, let me just share on that with Bob, his war room, right? That's cool, kind of a gimmick, but it's cool. And it shows it because he knows his market. But that's how after, he built one company, he can build another company. And now his new company, and I'm watching it because many of our friends are there. They're popping off. Obviously, New York are big deals. But because he had that database and he never let his knowledge and that market lapse, he literally just jumped right in, because that is the power
100%.
and just getting good people to work it. It's amazing what he's done in such a short period of time.
Yeah, and look, I grew up in the automotive industry, so for me, the databasing side was always big. And now I am older, that we didn't have computers back then. It was like a green screen. But I remember my sales manager said, look, if the dealership burns down, what's the most important thing? And I'm like, it's us, get out of it. No, he's like, no, it's our logbook. And it was our customer logbook, because we can start business up anywhere we wanted to. And so that's exactly what you're saying, is you can scale, you can grow, you can contract, but it's all within that centralized ecosystem. Now, I love sharing this screen. And if you want to take a screenshot of it, this really gives you more of a process map on how you can utilize RealNex in different fashions. Now, look, if you're a generalistic broker, RealNex is going to have more facets and pieces of the program that you can use. In doing so, that can be a little bit more overwhelming. But as Jeff alluded to earlier, is take one thing. And one thing could be in the CRM. If each of you go to a property today, on your way home, if you go to a tour, anything, if all you do is pull your RealNex app out and see if the property's in there, if it's not, hit add auto address and take pictures of it, and then voice dictate some details about the building. Well, the parking is great, the ratio is great, but the spaces are actually too small. It doesn't fit my truck right. So I don't know if the tenants are going to enjoy that. Put those notes in there, and then That's it. The next day, go log in and look at it, and you're going to be like, magic. And if you just do that every time you go on a tour, it makes a bigger difference. Or every time you talk to a tenant, pull out your iPad and add some notes. Watch how they react to you adding the information in your system versus just standing there and listening to them. It really makes them feel that you're earning your fee. And that's another thing that we're starting to
Let
see.
me
Go ahead,
just
Jeff.
stop you for a second, but take it to the next meeting. When you go to the next meeting with that same tenant, it's like, hey, April, how's your daughter doing? I know she wasn't feeling well. Or, hey, how's yeah, I know you had that graduation the last time we met. Or did you fix that leaky pipe in the boiler room? Like, oh yeah, the other agents will have forgotten that, and they're just going like, "Give me a deal, give me a deal, give me a deal." Talk about the things that are going to build a relationship. We talked about that from the very beginning. It's a relationship business, right? But you build relationships because you're adding value. You're talking about things that are relevant to the client, or remembering them things that are about them. Make it about them, their property, and and then about other things that you learned in the market that you can bring back to them.
It's funny how things have literally come full circle from basics to advanced to back to the basics, and how the personalization and the stories and the history means more than ever before, because everybody now is looking for the magic pill. And why they're focused on the lasers and chasing things and the next big thing, you're building your market and you're going to take it out right from underneath them, and they will have no clue what even hit them because you're focused on those things. That April's got red glasses, that's cool. I know that, I used to live in Alabama for a while. So now we have something going on there with Keith Andrews. And so all those things that I put in my system, you're putting in your system, and then all the information's usable for, different things as we implement more like current situation and minimum maximum price. All those things that start to build up little by little, but all the data then is usable. So it's not just going into this area that you can never use it. This information's available for you now. Now you want to do an email campaign to everybody that you just talked to that week. Or maybe you want to create a marketing package or an unsolicited broker opinion of value. All that data that you put in there from your property now is able to be done to create that marketing package, that flyer, that leave behind, those handouts, the email campaign. So it's all usable. All that information is usable and able to be applied in other portions within the RealNex ecosystem. And that what's really starts to separate the things is like, why do I do it? I do it because of the applicability down the road to follow up with them. And it's amazing the conversations that you start to have.
The other point on comps, Matt, that we've talked about it, that comp information is great from a pricing standpoint. Well, when we bring in a comp into RealNex and we bring them in, we supply that with RX data, or you bring it in from, the ones that you have on your own. Not only does it give you the market intelligence about what's happening in the market, but when I see that April or Keith told me that he likes to buy, he'll buy anything. But I can go into my database, like all you bought is truck terminals for the past 10 years. So, and you only bought, 5 doors to 10 doors. You're not buying 100. So I know what you actually do, not what you say you want to do. And if I get all of this data of what people buy, there's people that I don't know. And every time I have a new listing, I know all the best buyers in the marketplace because I know everyone who's bought anything in the market through our transaction history. So we give you the transaction history of what's happened in the market. So yeah, it's like shooting ducks in a barrel. Because if I get a new apartment building, I gotta know here's everyone that bought anything that looked like this for the past 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And I can see what is a typical hold cycle of this type of buyer, this owner. I know that they trade every 3 to 5 years. So not just you don't have a lease expiration on a property, but I know what their itch cycle is. I know that Jim is a trader. He's not a buy and hold. I know Matt's a buy something and he's gonna give it to his grandchildren. But Jim, I know he's my target because I know he bought this stuff in 21. He's ready to, and he hasn't sold it held it a little bit longer. He's right to sell. So knowing cycles, knowing the best buyers, and being able target those people is really powerful when you build this and use the leverage of our data sets.
Well, let's focus on what Jeff just said for a second, James. How many buyers actually know what they want?
Well, they don't really. They say they, I love, they say, I just want a good deal, right? What does that mean, right? To analyze and put it in, but they don't really know. And the only one way I found out was seeing what they bought before to kind of analyze if they're multifamily, if they're retail, industrial, or something, and how large of the deals have they bought unless they syndicate. But I've always, when I was in brokerage, trying to help them solve a problem, because sometimes there's great deals, they find the deals, they just can't take it down, so they have to syndicate and do other things. But Matt, that's the problem, is it's really their past deal flow that makes it this way, because sometimes when they say they buy anything, and sometimes they do, it may be a retail strip mall near their area, but they're a multifamily buyer, but it's just a great deal, right? But a lot of times, right, you just need to see what they bought, because there is efficiencies of how they manage it, whether it's third party or they manage it. Usually after a large enough, they manage it themselves, that they can run it more effectively than going to a different project. But I'll tell you this too, Matt. I do ask, because they're all investors and they'd like to talk shop, I ask them who else they know that may want this if you don't, and I'll make sure that they know the name, so their friend feels happy, right, that you, because of a referral, you brought them a deal.
Yeah, 100%. And look, there's a lot of times, and we see it lately, and I've seen it all over social media, is, I thought buying C-class properties was going to be the key to the golden amount of money, because I can get in a low dollar amount. And then they realize what C-class properties are and managing it, and now they want to get out. So those are some of the things you can say. Look, now we see in our area, Keith Andrews sees in his area that when someone buys a C-class property, they likely turn it within 2 years, because they realize that it's a lot more work than they thought it was. Well, you can then start to look at every transaction that happened 2 years ago, and now you can go back and call them and say, hey, just wanted to touch base with you, Keith. Look, a lot of C-class buyers get in over their head. How you feeling? And just have that conversation. He's going to be like, how did you know? Well, because I know the market and I know what happens after 2 years. And so those are the things that RealNex can help do. And then it also, that data can.
Or you did the work on that C-class property to add the value, and then you took the juice out of it. So it's
yeah. Well, and also, right. So, and again, this is where our valuation tool can help out. So when I work with, brokerage shops on the landlord side of things, they call it occupier and all the other stuff now is, now we're saying, how do we earn our fee? So what we're saying is, hey, James, today your building is worth X. And then in 6 months, here's your building, it's worth Y. And then here in 12 months, it's worth Z. And what now we are able to show is we are able to increase your NOI because we were able to raise rents, tighten up the leases, do some other things, and now your property is worth more. And someone says, well, by the way, that's awesome. Let's sell it, right? And now you're the selling broker. So you went in and you did the leasing. Maybe it's a small deal. Now you got the big shopping center. And now they say they want to sell a shopping center, which is the ultimate, and they're using you for all of it. So, that's where it's at. And again, where I started on all this stuff is I took basically a notepad and I said, look, I need to know the building that the tenant occupies, and I need to know the tenants. So focus on companies and spaces. And again, if you took one thing out of here and built upon it, the next thing you know, in 2 years, 3 years, 2 days, 2 months, it's taken a mind of its own and it's doing its thing.
And Matt, I just want to add, it is having conversations every day, especially with your top clients, right? There's the long term, there's the active trader. Some people say, I want the biggest one, but the biggest one usually has their top 3 or top 2 brokers that they go to that have been in the industry until they screw up. But if you show you can bring off-market deals, and I'd say the database allows you to constantly have conversations and manage or having a database of 1031 exchange clients, because they usually have a time limit, they'll pay more money. And if you just keep having conversations every day, new ones and the good ones, you just keep trading. And a lot of times they don't ever see the deals in the market because you're so active. You can represent, you can, well, what we said, right? Slam deals together. And that's where really good brokers, that's what they said with new brokers, I've never seen it, because you use your database to start slamming deals. And better, you start knowing the top 10 brokers in your market, and we do each other favors. I don't have somebody, do you have somebody? And everyone knows it's kind of a unwritten rule, right? If you help somebody, they find a deal to give back to you one day.
And the last thing I'll add too is, I mean, one of the things that I really like to focus on too as well, and I'm sure everybody has one in their market, that there are people that will take a listing just to list a property, and all the properties don't sell. And it was funny, I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, Pasha, this week, and I said, "Hey man, another one," and he goes, "Yeah, it's great to have listings. It's better to sell them." And you know, he's right, right? Just because he has a listing doesn't mean he'll sell it. And so one of the things that I like to show is, hey, here is a way that you can manage your pipeline of deals that you're working on to try to get to a listing. But if you lost the listing, it still sits in here that you can go back on and see whether that property actually sold or not. If it didn't sell, most states have to tell you by law when the listing expiration is. So if I call Keith and say, "Hey Keith, you got a property on 123 Main Street. When's that listing expire?" He legally has to tell me whether or not they're going to. But again, those are things that you can do in there. So you know, maybe your pipeline's a little dry, but if you go back in and you look at the 15 deals that you lost, maybe 13 of them didn't sell. And call them back. You're the only one that's calling them back because everybody forgot about them. They're on to the next one. And they're going to be like, "April, thanks for calling me. Everybody just ditched me." Well, that's because your property is overvalued. I can't sell it, but are you looking to buy something else? Let's just wait. Let's hold off on selling this one and let's buy something else. Or just build a relationship and tell them it's not meant to be and come back to them later. But now you were honest with them and you didn't take the deal just to take the deal.
And Matt, I'll just say that this is the fun thing too. Even if you lose a deal before they list it, it takes them about a week, depending on the big firms. You got a week. They're doing the same thing, but it's with a smaller group if it's not marketed, to call your list, get your buy side, get your offers ready to present. Because once the listing hits, granted, they may slow you down, they may do best and final, but that's the thing. You have a faster way of getting to the client because they know you dropped it off, the other client broker knows it, but you got that window usually of a week to call your database and set everyone up, get everyone ready, and let them know. So that's, I would say having the database, really working your database and classifying your top clients, the buy side, everything, because if you work it and you work it with your team, and that's the thing with the database, your team needs to be a part of it. Boy, you could scour and start really growing it. It is so powerful, man.
Matt, real quick, just go back to that sheet, that investor profile they had up. So any of you that have RealNex, I think some of you do already. Your screen probably certainly doesn't look like this. Why don't you just show quickly how I can make this look exactly like I want it to look?
It's simple as going up to manage your templates. I went there a different way for the demo purposes, but yeah, I mean, I call mine client profile. A lot of you might have an intake sheet, and before you work with the client, you have an intake sheet, whether that's for leasing or sales. Create your intake sheet right in here. So my investor details, market details, and then personal details. And then I have a current situation. What's currently going on with them? Why are they not buying or selling or leasing? What's currently going on? What's the situation? So I can see it as a
Matt,
snapshot.
I want to put current situation at the top of the page.
Yeah, just drag and drop. And if you don't like green, change the color. And then like business brokerage, I put it down here. Well, we don't do business brokerage, so we'll take it out. And now I can save it. And now I have my layout. We have
hundreds of fields. And you can make this a Rolodex with name, address, and phone number, or I can make it like Matt has a dozen fields, or I can make it 100. So you have a research team, you want to do deep research, great. If you want to, know everything about an industrial building, you can have dock doors, clear heights, and cranes and power and that information. If I'm multifamily or hospitality, I build that profile. I have any number of these. So whatever I want to do, I build my layout and profile and just bring up that profile. And as I'm talking to that, and if I'm using my phone, I want one type of format. If I'm on my big screen in the office, I have another. So that gives you a completely flexible configuration to get to what you want as a
yeah, and I actually like the current situation up here better because it just gives me the current situation of what's going on with Bob, why he's not selling his property or why he's not buying. That's it. All my history and activities will be under here of all the years of me talking to Bob and making the calls and reaching out and emails. But this tells me what currently is going on, what is the most up to date. And then
Don't
again,
skip over that, Matt. In your history, every email that you sent and went back and forth. I don't have to scroll through Outlook and try to figure out what did I talk to this guy about last year. All my email traffic's going to be here, whether Gmail or Outlook, it'll be. And if I use that well, I don't have to use Outlook anymore because I have to wade through 100 spams to get to the 5 good emails. This will organize just the emails that are dealing with my deals and my clients. So you have it all filtered.
Yeah, and then as you tie that into our real campaigns, anybody using Chipmunk or any of that stuff, I mean, I can almost guarantee we're going to save you the cost of the RealNex subscription just on switching over. We can see in here that we're calling Bob. We're leaving messages for Bob. He's not opening our emails. It's probably time to cut bait with Bob. Let's not continue to call Bob or change our messaging. And so again, this is going to give you the insights that you need to focus on clients that are going to generate the revenue that you need versus, not sure who, where, what, when, why, or how. And so it builds all that. And I think that's just really important to notice as well that you have it in here. So if you're using Chipmonkey or something, come over. We've saved clients, upwards of a few $100s a month to as little as like 20 or 30 bucks, but we can all use 20 or $30 extra a month. And if you can't, send it to me.
Jim, what would you like? How far? I don't know what our timeline is. Are we?
Well, I know different parts there. From there, I just wanted to focus. How do you work with, let's say, other maybe tech systems? Do you integrate and help, or is it comprehensive? But a lot of times, with the database, it really, as I wanted to show people how powerful and important with maybe the marketing, using the database to really attract and get new business from, let's say, listings off market. How can you use it to really capture more business once you build it?
Listings, I mean, you can go into our property profile here. You can have all the information about a property. Then I can publish it to the marketplace and I can keep it off market. So I could create this property. Just go to the listing manager, show it how you create it.
Yeah, so all this data
you have to make it active and searchable to be published in our marketplace. If you want to just keep it off market, don't make it active and searchable. Just keep it in a draft. But then you can make it active but not searchable. So then you can do all of your work with it, create presentations and documents, send your blasts out, and maybe show that quickly how you create your fast flyers and get things into the market from an off market standpoint.
Yeah, it looks like I'm having a bit of an internet issue here, Jeff. We have a internet that does not like rain in this office. So every time it rains, the internet goes funky. And I reset it yesterday. And I'll probably end up resetting it again today. So it looks like that is the case here. Let me log out and log back in real quick. Sometimes
just while you're doing that, Jim, we have an open API with our CRM and our marketplace. So from our API, you can take the information and we can integrate with anything. We have some native, some built in. So we integrate with Ring Central out of the box. We integrate with a number of different listing sites out of the box. So that syndication button at the top will publish your listings to Commercial Edge, which has Commercial Cafe, Search, 42 Floors, Property Shark. We connect with RI Marketplace and Brevitas and Spacelist, and the ability to import is very streamlined. We have an import engine that will bring properties in and or contacts in or comps in or whatever you need. So the APIs and the integrations and the imports are very, very streamlined.
Jeff, can you show that again, all the partners and things you work with? And obviously I hope to add more, because this is so important that people don't realize that some people want to, or some groups want to be just one, but you need to work with so many tech. And we know, Jeff, you've seen this before, consolidation. One day it's this, and then somebody rolls it up, buys it up like a RealNex, because you do need so many different groups that you can plug in, depending on product specialty or general marketing, to just blast and get it out there to everyone. It is so powerful to collaborate, like in commercial real estate. It's good to work hard, do your thing, but this is important as you keep building. I know the channel partners, other available partners, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's powerful when you connect with everyone else.
Absolutely. And we connect with the people that want to be connected with. There's some that are closed gardens and, we can't get to them, but they, as soon as they open up, we'll feed them as well. And Matt, well, maybe to show how you develop a quick campaign from a listing. Again, this can be an off market or on market.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it is you can't do this in your Chipmunky. You just click on the template you like.
And go to we have EXP templates in there as well. So you just, if you need it, it's all, Matt had a bunch of them, but you would have your
EXP template, yeah. And then you can edit it from here if you want. So if you want to put in the acreage or you want to add some other stuff or change some of the colors, but it builds everything for you. And then all your contacts back in the system there, your knowledge base is all right here. And then you can email it to our community too as well on our local, state, and national base. And then all your statistics are tracked back in here as well. Who's open and who's clicking, who's not clicking. You can schedule it for a future date. I was on with a team yesterday out of Washington, and they're like, yeah, it's funny. My wife works at this company, and they get emails from other people at like 3 in the morning, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. And they're like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, I just set it up ahead of time. So people are like, oh, wow, I thought you worked all the time. So now you can set it up for like 1:47 a.m. And they're like, good Lord, April. April's working hard for me. And it's just automated.
If you go to imports, Matt, just because Jim was talking more about where do you find the API and
Yeah, so all that's on imports.realnex.com. And so when you go to imports.realnex.com, you'll log in and just click your login here. It might ask for you to re-authenticate. Just another security protocol because it's going to be a separate site. Once you go here, you can go to integrations, and then you can go to RingCentral or API, and then you'll see in here, this walks you through how to enable your token. And then the documentation's built in Swagger, which it's pretty easy. And then the API is a JSON, which is pretty much market standard, but it's really easy to use. I even wrote a program to connect to it. So if I can do it, you can do it. And I can't even use Excel or PowerPoint. You can ask Jeff. So
you may or may not need to, but people that you're working with, you have a third party, another product, another solution that you want to integrate. It gives their developer the tools that they need to make that happen. And then under imports, we make it really easy to get product data from build out or any of the client look or other, if you're working with other systems, or again, if you have licenses to other third-party data, to get that into RealNex to put it to work, or to access the RX data itself
And Jeff, now that we are going to have license to CoStar, is there any way CoStar integration of any sort?
So just go right into that data import tool there and see CoStar right at the top, press a button, drag and drop your file, boom, it's in then and perfected inside of RealNex to put it to work.
I definitely know that we should do another course about how the integration for those that have RealNex or want to use RealNex and globally, because I know they're expanding. This is actually very powerful now that we have this tool to maximize it, right? And that's how you get the advantages. How do you maximize with now the CoStar coming up, or for those that use it, to really help you build your database and something more powerful. But I'll give some time for everyone on this call to ask any questions, but it really is kind of diving a lot more deeper into databases, CRMs, APIs, how this actually can work for your business. And for those that train juniors or new agents or researchers, how does this help you and really building a business, right? Not just doing being a broker, building that database, which is gold now, and who knows what AI and larger data mining could be for you when you transfer it or one day sell it or give other people to allow them to grow their business on top of it. You just maybe take a 10 or 25% cut or maybe larger for your better clients. April, any questions? Chris?
As a matter of fact, thank you, Jim. I do have a question, and always good to see you, Jeff. Thanks for the great demonstration, Matt. So now within EXP, commercial, we can do groups. So for those individuals who want to have groups, and let's say they are using RealNex, how does the whole team get access to the one CRM? How does that work? What does that look like? And if I need to rephrase the question.
No, so we
I
can set up a team on a common database. And Matt, if you could show very simply how inside of a shared database, we have all different permutations of permissions, so that April wants to keep some of that private, but I want to open up my comps, or I want to keep my client notes private, but I want to share my property information. So you can share what you want. You can do it sometimes and not other times. So you can you pick and choose how you want to set up your permissions, and then how for each record what you want to do with it.
Would each individual get their own separate login, or do they have to use the main person's login?
No, it
How
would
does
be
that-
individual logins and individual security and individual permissions, but a shared database that you just think about it as like everything's behind a closed door, and you got to either give me the key to that or not. And so, if I want to give you the key to it, I can, just by saying you can see it, but you can't edit it. You can edit it, but you can't download it. You can, look, you just. And then I can you can have team industrial, you can have team multifamily, you can have team, Georgia. So you want to share
Gotcha.
with who you want to share with, and all you do is pick the team you want to share with, or you can do it, one by one with different people.
Okay, it's so interesting. I met with my mentees yesterday, and I was just sharing with them about RealNex. So you may be getting some other some other individuals joining. And I have one last question. I noticed that the telephone number was actually highlighted when Matt was sharing his screen. Is there actually like an auto dialer wrapped into the system of some sort?
Yeah, you mean can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to click the dial using any system like Ring Central, Skype, Teams, Phone Link. I mean, just click on it, and when you do, it'll dial that number, and then you can voice dictate your notes and had a great conversation with April, such and such, such and such. And then you can go on to the next one.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that way it dials. I still like to do it with my fingers, but yeah, I mean, whatever works best for you. I don't know if I'll ever stop doing that, but yeah, click the dial and then you're on to the next one, and you can knock them out.
Understood. All right. Thank you, guys.
Pete, definitely you need to use this to expand your team. I mean, you have a very large and web around the US of how you can put this all together. Any other questions?
Hey, back to April's first one, Jeff or Matt. So we have a group. We'll be a group leader. We give access at whatever level to group members. Can they enter info in there and only them and the group leader be the ones to see it?
Yeah, we can set up permissions any way we want with that. So we would just have to figure out what that hierarchy looks like and then just set it up. But yeah, the permission level is super awesome. It's very granular within it, but yeah, we can set it up so I add something and then the group leader would only see what I added, and so forth. And the group leader can see everything if you wanted to set it up that way as well. And then we could set up filters based upon each person within there. So it's all just slowing that process down, understanding exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and then implementing that, and implementing it's relatively quick to set up the teams of permissions once we understand what the hierarchy looks like and then what permissions each person needs and then what the teams would be. It's super easy. I mean, I can do and create a team right now if I wanted to. I just go to Teams and then I can say, teach me, and Guide Me is going to walk you through how to set up a team. I mean, you don't even have to read in a manual or anything. It's all automated here for you and walks you through. So if you can read, you're good to go.
Oh, we have to read?
That is a prerequisite of using a RealNex program. But if you can't read, you can always hire someone that can.
Okay.
Any
For
more
the
questions?
Oh, I was going to ask for the individuals who are interested in making the change today, is there a link that you can put in the chat that we could all click on, or are we going to EXP World? For those of us who are within EXP, I'm not sure if everyone on this line is a part of EXP, but what would that next step look like?
So April, I would say you talk internally so they can swap you out, switch you out. So I would say it's internal for end because we know we do partner with RealNex and with the build out and everything. But if you want to switch, you just internally, we will kind of turn one off and turn one on for you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Well, there's two pieces. And Matt, if you just bring up that initial chart one more time. That market edge section, which does the underwriting proposals, the marketing collateral, the analysis, and the deal rooms, is what's interchangeable with build out. So you have a choice, and EXP will add you to our list or theirs. So you would get that. Then you can upgrade to the CRM and the rest, the full suite, we call RealNex Navigator, for $75 incremental per month. And for that, you would just best just contact me, jfin@realnex.com, and I'll get you to the right regional. And yours is Jen McCabe, but since everyone would have a different person.
Yeah, email Jeff, let him do all the work.
Yeah, give it to me, and I will make sure the right person gives you the VIP treatment.
Jeff, if you don't mind sharing your contact information too. So
Yeah.
some people may be with EXP, maybe others are not, just listening in, understanding it. So again, just want to thank everyone for this time to share and really kick off this new year. We're still in January for the lunar new year and the new year to really build your business strong. I know a lot of people have been waiting for 2025 to happen. Lots of pent-up demand. I say use the right technology, collaborate with the right people, and just do the day's jobs in commercial real estate. I know this will be a great year for everyone. So again, Jeff, everyone, join us every Wednesday for Top Agent Nation Commercial Wednesdays. Have a great day. Have a great Lunar New Year. And thank you all again.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Take care.